Crockett and Tubbs try to take down a dealer and end up embroiled in a conspiracy to assassinate a Cuban diplomat. Cuba Libre was directed by veteran television director Virgil W. Vogel, who would go on to direct a cluster of Miami Vice episodes. It was written by Eric Estrin and Michael Berlin, and it's the only foray into Miami Vice for both. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only Miami Vice episode named after a popular cocktail, but feel free to prove me wrong on that. While Miami by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band plays, Tubbs and Crockett, undercover as Cooper and Burnett, mingle with the very fancy guests at an elegant black tie gala overflowing with champagne and cocaine taking place at a swanky mansion. It's a great party. Tubbs' well-established love of fancy cocktails reasserts itself once more, and I'm charmed by Sonny's very 1987 interpretation of the concept of black tie. Outside the mansion, a raft filled with heavily armed black-clad commandos docks. The commandos take out the security guards and infiltrate the party. One of the commandos strips off her all-black garb to reveal her slinky, sparkly cocktail gown beneath and heads into the party to join the fancy guests, and it's one of the greatest little throwaway moments I've ever seen on this show. Crockett and Tubbs are joined by an undercover cop with Metro Vice named Pedroza. They're all working to bring down the party's host, a drug dealer named Rojas. Crockett and Tubbs engage in some champagne-fueled backroom negotiations with Rojas, who is played by legendary trombonist and composer Willie Colon. The commandos burst in on the meeting and force Rojas to open his safe. The safe is empty because Rojas stores his drug money in the trunk of his cars, so the commandos kill Rojas. They try to kill Crockett and Tubbs. Pedroza interrupts but is shot and killed in the process, and the commandos escape. This is a pretty smooth opening sequence that harkens back to the over-the-top glamour and style of earlier seasons, and it gets this episode off to a strong start. Pedroza had been tipped off about the party by an informant named Flores, so Crockett and Tubbs visit a country club where Flores works as a valet to grill him about the attack. Flores confesses that the attack was the work of two men named Vasquez and Zamora. Vasquez's case file is restricted, so Crockett asks Switek if he can call in a favor with an old girlfriend named Roberta who works in the Justice Department, and Switek refuses because Roberta turned out to be a man named Robert in a throwaway gag that hasn't held up especially well. An FBI agent named Jack Slade, played by Beeson Carroll, gives Vice a little backstory on Vasquez. Vasquez is an anti-Castro Cuban national who aided the feds during the Bay of Pigs invasion. Slade considers him a hero and insists that he couldn't have been involved in Rojas's murder. Posing as Burnett, Crockett meets with Vasquez, who is played by Ismael Carlo, and Zamora, who is played by Joe Urla. Crockett claims that Tubbs, as Cooper, is in possession of the money Vasquez and Zamora tried to steal from Rojas. Crockett, who says he's looking for revenge against Cooper for unspecified past grievances, is willing to give them the money in exchange for a 20% cut. Vasquez takes Crockett to a training camp for anti-Castro commandos who are planning to assassinate an important Cuban delegate who will be visiting Miami. Meanwhile, Tubbs stays in a safe house with Rojas's money, waiting for Zamora and Vasquez to try to steal it from him. Crockett learns that Zamora, who is notably more ruthless and brutal than Vasquez, is planning to kill Tubbs, so he tries to warn his partner without blowing his cover, and Tubbs hides in the woods. Vice has placed Rojas's cash in a suitcase equipped with a tracker, but Zamora takes the cash and ditches the suitcase. They're joined by the federal agent, Slade, who turns out to be corrupt. He tells Vasquez he's planning on stealing the cash and framing Vasquez for the assassination of the Cuban delegate. When Slade spots Crockett, he immediately identifies him as a cop, and Crockett is forced to run for his life with Zamora and the commandos in hot pursuit. Crockett is caught by Vasquez, who asks for his help in exchange for his life. Zamora is holding Vasquez's wife and kid hostage and is using them as leverage to get Vasquez to help him with the assassination. Vasquez tells Crockett where his family is being held and then sets him free. Crockett reunites with Tubbs, and they free Vasquez's family and then stop the assassination attempt. While Gun Law by Kane Gang plays, Switek arrests Slade, Crockett and Tubbs kill Zamora, and Vasquez is injured in the skirmish, but is eventually reunited with his wife and son. This is one of those perfectly enjoyable episodes that doesn't really stand out in either a good or bad way. I like it, but I find myself with not much to say about it. Vasquez is a good character, and he's well played by Ismael Carlo, who is one of those mainstays of 80s television. He'll show up on Miami Vice again, and I think he appeared on like 4 different A-Team episodes. I always like seeing him. He's got this smart and sympathetic quality to him that makes him very engaging to watch. That opening sequence filled with champagne, cocaine, and fancy outfits seems very much like classic Miami Vice, which always makes me happy. So this one is right in that Three Flamingo range. Not outstanding, but certainly not a waste of anyone's time. In the next episode, we'll get another little glimpse into Castillo's past, when an old case from his days as a DEA agent in Southeast Asia resurfaces in Miami. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you then.